every year on New Year's Eve, we'll sit down and write out our New Year's manifestations. The reason why we use manifestations is because as much as we have to work towards the goals and put the effort and action into it, I also want to put it out in the universe and try to manifest, get the universe on our side a little bit.
Happy Tuesday and welcome back to the Turkeyverse. Guess what, people? There are 364 days left until Christmas.
That's crazy. Now's the best time to go Christmas shopping.
Ooh, do it. Do it. But in real life, it's, don't make me do the math. It's a number of days until the new year. So we are going to hit y'all with our New Year's resolutions. And, well, I have feelings already just about the word New Year's resolution. But we're going to talk about our New Year, New Me vibes or New Year, Same Me. And I don't know if any of y'all want to join along. Come along and join the song and join the jamboree. What's that song?
I have no idea. Never.
Oh, it's the Mickey Mouse song.
Oh, that's why I don't know it.
Oh, the chaos. Okay. Kayla and I both have taken some time to do this. We have not shared them with each other. So we're going to start and see where this takes us. Yeah?
Yes. Let's do it. I'm excited. I always love pondering the new year.
We've been doing this. If you guys have been listening, we've been kind of doing this with the change of the seasons. We did this with the winter solstice. And we're going to have an equinox coming soon, aren't we? No. Winter solstice?
You're asking the wrong person.
I can't remember.
That's okay.
But the moral of the story is that the days are going to start getting longer. So that means we're coming upon an equinox when it will be we're coming upon a solstice when it will be the darkest. And then the days are going to start getting longer again.
We have already just barely surpassed the solstice on the 22nd, right before the Christmas.
Guys, the days are getting longer. We can use this to our advantage. The winter weepies won't be with us much more. I mean, I fucking love winter time, but okay. Let me just start off by saying I have a new first thought. And my first thought that I would like to say is fuck resolutions. This is why. I'm obsessed with words and I think language matters. But I think that the word is overdone and I kind of feel like it's overstated. So for that reason, I shall not be making any resolutions this year. Kayla didn't know I was going to do this whole thing and pull the carpet out from underneath us. But I'm changing it to saying that I'm setting a New Year intentions because that feels softer and I'm doing this thing where I gentle parent myself.
I like that. Okay, so instead of resolutions, it's intentions. That's funny that you say that because we were not planning on talking about the wording of this whole thing, but Kenny and I, for the last, I don't know, this will probably be our 6th year. Every year on New Year's Eve, we'll sit down and write out our New Year's manifestations. So we don't use resolutions either. I like intention, but the reason why we use manifestations is because as much as we have to work towards the goals and put the effort and action into it, I also want to put it out in the universe and try to manifest, get the universe on our side a little bit.
First of all, I'm so happy that this is the outcome. I love that you guys do that. I'm going to steal that from you guys. I love the word manifestation. I think I like it even better.
And just to finish that, we write out his manifestations, my manifestations, and then ours together. And we put it on a big whiteboard and we keep it in our closet. So when we go in every day, we see it. Because the more you see it, the more it kind of starts clicking.
I am shook.
You like that?
I love that so much. You guys go back at the end of the year and do a recap?
Yep. So New Year's Eve, we'll recap it, check off the stuff we've done, understand why we've missed what we've missed, and then make a new list. And I take pictures. So like I have all of them year by year on my phone. I never
This is
told
the
you this.
greatest thing I've ever learned about you. Number one. Number two, this makes my therapist slash social work heart happier than it ever has.
I love it.
And I'm going to pitch this to Jason. We usually set like a theme or like a something, like some kind of intention, but we've never been that intentional about it. Fuck, that's cool. Okay, sorry. Refocusing. So, as I was saying, I want to set New Year's intentions. And Aaron, shout out to Aaron, we had done like a word of the year in years past. Where we kind of picked like a word and then what does that mean and sort of built that out as a way to sort of set some goals or some things to focus on. And a couple of years ago, I read a fiction book. And of course, don't be surprised, anybody. The main character was a witch.
Of course.
And basically, she was like learning how to tap back into her witchy powers. But the way that to cast a spell, you had to have the words, but you also had to have the ways. And I loved that metaphor for life and for setting goals. And so the last couple years that Aaron and I have done this, I've set up my word of the year as like words and ways. So that's how I kind of did my intentions this year.
I like
because
that.
I really like that. Like you have to have an idea of what you want to do, but then you have to like, there has to be a tangible, measurable way to achieve that, or else you're just going to be willy-nilly floating about.
Yeah, it's true.
Should we go every other? You want me to do my first intention and then do you want to do yours?
Sure.
Otherwise, I feel like I'm going to be doing some kind of like monologue and nobody wants to hear that much of me. So, intention number one, the words, cut the clutter. And the ways are going to be to set aside some time once per month to clean out a closet, a room, refrigerator, a cabinet, something. And then throw old things away, donate things, and then reorganize. So like literal clutter cutting.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second challenge to myself, or my second way that I want to cut the clutter, is to do 7 consecutive days of no screening. And I'm going to come back around to this because it's kind of incorporated in a lot of my intentions. But there's an exercise in the book/program that I'm doing called The Artist's Way. And the author at the time said to do a week of no reading, but this was written before like podcasts and YouTube and social media. So all the other like screen stuff that we do. And you and I have talked about this before, but I definitely, dissociate from my current situation by listening to things or like putting a TV show on in the background. And I don't always think that's a bad thing. And I like to absorb information, but I think I get a little too focused on being productive all the time, and doing 2 things at once is just a sneaky way for me to be overly productive. So my week of no screening, I'm going to set limits for myself of not listening to podcasts, not listening to anyone's YouTube channels, just kind of like cutting off the background buzzing. So I'm just not going to let myself put TV shows on my phone. Stay off of social media and kind of just be with myself and my thoughts. And part of that in the book is because your creative like space comes out of your sort of just your inner knowing, or like the like creative flow, and you can't really tap into the present moment and get into those spaces if you're constantly just having like white noise on in the background all the time. So I'm going to cut that out intentionally for a week, do my daily journals that I've been doing, and then just see what I notice. And then we'll see if I end up making any changes to other habits, but I think it'll be a fun challenge.
I like that. We talked offline just a little bit, and that was one of the things that came up, and I would love to join you in that because we have talked about it. We are both guilty of, I mean, literally any moment I'm like, I gotta do this. I'll also do this at the same time. And maybe I should listen to a podcast while I'm driving or walking, because if I'm not taking in information, then what am I doing? It's just really obnoxious at a certain point. I love it, but at the same time, I feel like I need to pull back because when I do have moments to myself. I'm like, oh yeah, I have thoughts and like they're swirling and I should process things like in silence in my own brain. So I want to join you on that. I do, okay, going back to the word or the statement or phrase or whatever for the new year. I don't do that every year. I sometimes forget, but I did have thoughts on this year. I feel like the overarching theme of my goals is the word that can be taken two different ways, but you'll understand which way it's supposed to be taken. Is present, being present, the verb. And because that is such a big thing that I've noticed this past year that I really need to work on. My baby is about to be 7 months. What the heck? He is already 7 months. And I'm just like, the time is flying and life is too short. I have to make sure I'm more intentional with my time. So my first thing, literally, it's intentional with my time, but that's not very specific. So I wanted to break that down into more, specificity to try to actually hit these goals. So I'm telling myself that I'm gonna pick a day. I haven't honed in on what day yet, but I'm gonna pick a day where I give 30 minutes to myself once a week. Like, no podcasts. This is separate from like a week of no taking in information, but no podcasts, no TV, no phone. Maybe I can go on a bath. Maybe I can go for a walk by myself. Maybe I can be creative. Maybe I can paint, even though I suck at painting, but like something fun and creative. I want to give myself 30 minutes once a week to myself. Me time. Especially as a new mom, I think that's going to be really important.
Oh, I'm sorry. I felt like your voice went up at the end of that sentence, so I thought there was more coming.
Well, I was going to like put a period on it with the next thing, but I was like, I've been talking a while. The other thing within that, intentional with my time, is I want to dedicate 1 hour minimum to family time when we get home from work, aka no phones, no TV, just being there before our son has to go to bed, just as the three of us, an hour of us, no distractions. That's my second one. Yeah.
I like that a lot. The other thing that came to mind when I was talking, while you were talking and when I was talking about kind of cutting back some of that clutter, was like not listening to other people's podcasts all the time and let myself have creative space to like come up with shit for our podcast.
Right.
Because she was talking about that in the book, like for writers, you're always like reading other people's work and you're like taking in all these other people's information. And she's like, you are a creative being and you need to create. So like get off of all of the other people's shit and just be quiet for a minute and listen to yourself, because you have a creative like well within you and you aren't filling it back up and then you're not diving in to take any of it out. Mm-hmm. What you said about your 30 minutes is going to come back around, and it's cracking me up because that is also in one of mine. And it's also like one of the challenges or like steps in the book.
That's so funny. We have not talked about this.
No, we're having such similar things. All right. My number 2, the words cultivate creative growth, and the ways finish the artist's way and then let it culminate into a new creative project and take a creative risk, which you and I have discussed, but I will not be discussing on air because I have been told in my book to treasure my creative interests. And if I have a new project, to treat it like a little baby and keep it safe from people being rude. So I'm going to do that and only share the specifics of that with the people I trust with my little baby nuggets. And then we'll go from there. Continue to do our quarterly podcast meetings so that we can keep focusing on our creative project. And I think Erin used this phrase one year, but talked about like getting deeper instead of wider. Like we've kind of spread out some things that we want to do. So now working on like the depth of that and honing in. And then the last way is what I kind of touched on before, like gentle parenting myself on this journey. So listening to my body and checking in and holding myself accountable, but like if I'm worn out, let myself do something relaxing instead of being such a tyrant to myself. And I kind of had this realization the other day because I was exhausted after work. And I was like, I have to work out.
Yeah.
And instead of making myself go lift weights when I was already like pretty exhausted, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a walk with the dogs. I'm not going to listen to anything. I'm just going to like walk them, be outside. I'm still moving and like burning off some of the just like anxiety of the day, but it will be more of a like rest and recovery activity. I did that. It was fine and dandy. But what was weird is I woke up the next morning feeling really refreshed, and I actually worked out like my weightlift workout the next morning, which I literally never do because I never have the energy for it. And it was just kind of this good reminder, like, bro, you can be nice to yourself. Like, we don't have to be so goddamn intense all the time. And what do you know, it actually like worked out good and I had more energy the next day. Like, duh,
Isn't that
fucking
interesting?
genius. Okay, loser. Anyway, I just talked about gentle parenting myself and then I insulted myself harshly. So we're working on it. It's an intention. But that, okay, yep, that is that one. Because I don't think you can be as creative and like get in the creative flow if you're like straining all the time. So that's that piece.
I love that. And it's funny that you said, I think it was cultivate and grow. Is that kind of the words? Yeah. And then you're talking about, honing in on deepening the podcast, doing our strategic calls, like all this stuff. It's funny because my my next goal is not very deep, but it relates exactly to what you just said about us, because my goal, friends and family, Turkeyverse out there, is to hit 3,000 subscribers / followers. So share with a friend, subscribe, review, love us, hate us, join us. No, seriously, I'm like, we've done this like groundwork this first year, and I feel like everything is, unless you're just an overnight success, which I don't believe is actually a thing. You start off so slow, you grow steady, and then as you pick up, things continue to also exponentially grow. So that's my goal. It's a very lofty and exciting goal, but hopefully one day we can look back on this and laugh at 3,000. But I would love to hit 3,000 peeps in our little community, because not just for the followers or the subscribers or for anything, but other than to grow our community and have these conversations and ask questions and have little inside jokes. I want to be able to grow our little podcast community and our YouTube fam. So
I'm getting the chills on how like
I know
lined up these are.
Of course. I'm actually like, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised.
I know, I'm not surprised at all. This is weird as fuck too, because it leads in directly to my next intention, which is foster a sense of spirituality.
I love that.
And literally my one of my bullet points for the ways was to slow down and acknowledge divine guidance and give gratitude.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? It's like noticing these little moments that you feel like coincidence, or you just blow them off, and just recognizing that as part of being part of, the divine creative flow, and just appreciating that and slowing down instead of being so up my own butt all the time. And this again is going to tie back into the artist way, and I'm sorry for anyone who's sick of me talking about it because it's going to keep coming up. But she really talks about, like, if you look at the world and you believe that there's some type of higher power, and you look at all of the beauty in the world, like, how can you not look at that and call your higher power creative? And she kind of talks about like the great creator. And I'm not talking about like creation versus evolution, like none of those sort of like religious dogmas, but just purely to say, obviously, whatever like divine hand exists has made beautiful things in the world around us. And why would that entity, being creative itself, why would it not want and delight in us using our creativity. And so she really talks about like using creativity as a spiritual practice and doing a daily, she calls them morning pages, but doing some writing every morning just to like get into that creative space. It can be like writing prayers, but just tuning in and kind of tapping into that higher power, the great creator. And I've loved doing that so far, and I am obsessed with this idea of creativity as a spiritual practice. So that's like definitely the key piece to it and what really inspired me. But we've talked a little bit about how we grew up in the church, and Christianity was a big part of my life growing up, and there have been some, I guess, religious like frameworks that don't fit for me anymore. But I want to get back to having a sense of spirituality and like the higher power and the belief in something bigger than yourself that we're connected to and that connects all of us to each other. Because I think otherwise it's just, I get too dark in my own head. It just gets too dark and creepy in there. And then I get selfish, and then I get bitter, and then I get angry, and then I'm mean. So that it's like the trail that I'm trying to avoid. And then the other ways that I said I wanted to do this were keep up doing a regular yoga practice and just trying to be try to be intentional about just being grateful for my body and for how it works, and that I have ability. I work around sick people all day, and I can still do things. And I would like to quit focusing on the like perpetual 5 pounds of fluff that will never go away, and focus more on like, I can bend over without pain, or, like I can lift weights without having a coronary. I don't know. So just trying to appreciate the body that I have and the place that I'm in. And I'm not going to be in my 30s forever. And I don't want to look back on myself when I'm 80 and been like, God damn it, Kaylee, like you should have appreciated when you can do this. Because we're all going to get old, and it's coming for all of us if we're so lucky. I talked about slowing down before, and just again, like acknowledging those divine moments and calling them what they are and being thankful for them instead of downplaying things all the time, because having that little like sense of whimsy and wonder, I think, is also just, it makes me happy. And then lastly, do my artist date. And this is what I was referencing earlier when you were talking about taking 30 minutes, because that's one of the things she says as part of the program is to take like at least 30 minutes every week and do an artist date where you do something creative for yourself just for like the fun of doing it, like going to a thrift store or painting or taking a bath, like you said, like just doing something purely for the sake of doing it, for the fun of it, for the creativity of it, instead of it having to be like timed and a purpose, and like, so just making that free space. So that's going to be my continued goal, is to be intentional about setting that time to refill my creative well, so that we can keep bringing fresh topics and good perspectives. And I want this to continue to be something that we do from a place of authenticity and creative expression. And I feel like if I don't fill that space in myself, I'm going to start trying to do things for external validation. And I feel like that is not what ultimately resonates with people anyway.
Bingo, or ding. I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to basically be like,
Ding.
Yes. Agree. Okay, it's so funny because as much as the words that I'm about to say probably don't actually, they're not exactly the same, the essence behind what you just mentioned is kind of where I'm coming from. God, it's so funny. So you said spiritual, you said like creative, and you said fill up your own well so you can give back. And it's funny because, and you said yoga. As much as I still don't love yoga, I'm trying to do more of it. But my last, at least for now, I'll probably dive deep into these a little bit more and maybe spread them out. But my last one is basically get down to, and this is a vain one because it's physical related, but my goal is to get down to my pre-pregnancy weight before the end of the year. So I've given myself a whole like year, over a year and a half from post baby to pre baby weight, which I feel like is very graceful. And I'm only giving myself a physical number to shoot for because I know even if I don't hit it, it will allow me to do so many more things. So when I'm more intentional with my physical body movement, I feel better. I feel like I filled myself up so I can have more energy with others. It's always like a paradox. I feel like it takes more time and energy to work out, but at the end of it, you have more energy to give. I also feel like for me, music, I know that sounds weird, but musicality is a little spiritual for me, or it's at least very like inspirational. Like it really gets me in my feels sometimes. And because I usually listen to podcasts or audiobooks on my way in from work, and my car does not have a great sound system anymore, I would like to put in my good headphones and like actually have an experience for myself because spiritually I know it's going to help me out and my mindset is going to shift because I know when I get done with a hard workout, I can go to work and like embrace the hard things. I'm like, if I just did all that this morning with my workout, I can go to work and deal with these blah, blah, blah. Like I just feel like I handled adversity better when I've put myself through it. And I feel like I have to challenge myself a little bit more to get me back into the right headspace. And then just as a side benefit, I'll hopefully get back into what I deem as in shape because I do want to just be healthy and be able to move without my knees hurting and be able to pick up my son and play with him and do all these things. I also selfishly want to set a good example for him. And instead of spending my time, in front of the TV, he can see me get off the couch and move my body and set a good example. So it's a very like there's a whole background story about why that's the goal, but that is the essence of me. I'm just setting it specifically to let's try to get back to pre-baby weight by the end of the year. I think that's very graceful of me to give myself that much time. So that's
Love
it.
that you were saying that about music because I had not really brought that up with the spirituality part, but I definitely agree with you. We've joked before about how we think maybe half of why we love church so much was because they had a good band. Like I think I was connecting to the music and like it was the music was more of a conduit than maybe the church itself being some like magical location. But that was also part of my thing with the no screening that I forgot to say was if I'm not listening to podcasts and I'm not consuming like TV show and just some of the like bullshit nonsense that I listen to, and some of it's very educational and not bullshit, but it will force me to listen to music. And I've been trying to do that a little bit here and there to be like, okay, Kaylee, like knock it off. Let's listen to music on our run or, just something because I think it helps me, like you were saying, sort of tune into the moment and I can really get into just a different headspace altogether than I can when I'm listening to a podcast. Like, I think when I work out to a podcast, I'm like not listening to my body and I'm listening to the podcast and I'm using it to like check out and dissociate from my uncomfortable workout. And I'm still getting the physical effects, but I don't get the same positive body effects from like feeling the discomfort and like heading off the adversity and then getting like pumped up with inspirational music and kind of having that whole like up, like, the peak of it being difficult and then getting out of breath and being worn out and then coming down and feeling sort of that sense of relief. So ditto.
Ditto. There we go. That rhymed.
Whoa.
I
Dude,
like
this was so fun. We should do a 6-month check-in, I think.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Let's do a 6-month check-in, see how we're doing, and then we're going to steal what you and Kenneth do. Whoops. Well, it's fine. It's his full name. He'll be okay. My bad, Kenny. I'll never do it again. It's a lie. It'll happen. I got so fixated.
It was great. It's okay. You
But
or what's the word? Ordained our marriage. Wait, what is it?
yeah,
Officiated.
I'm still fixated on saying his full given God given name from y'all's wedding, but it still comes out of my mouth. Okay. Um, I want to steal what you and your hubby do and do like a review at the end of the year.
It's so much fun. I honestly
Look
love it
back.
so much. And as much as we don't cross off the list, we cross off more than I think we would if we didn't make the intention of writing it all down and looking at it
Heck yeah.
almost every day. So
And I think we've both done a good job of illustrating my like the social worker in me has to address. Like, you want to make things that are measurable and attainable and realistic and set limits, because otherwise if it's all just like ethereal and if it's all just floopy and mystical, like it's hard to get that little dopamine bump that we all kind of need of checking something off. So it's good to do like, here's some little tangible things like our 7-day, no screen, or I want to do 30 minutes by myself every week, like something that you can physically check, so that you're feeling like, okay, awesome, I did it. And you get that little dopamine hit that kind of keeps you running down the line of some of the bigger stuff.
I do think it'd be funny if you guys want to join us on our YouTube exclusive puddle. We're going to talk about all the stupid, floofy, unrealistic New Year, New Me resolutions. They're so funny. There's so many. Oh my gosh.
There's so many. So yeah, join us on Saturday. We'll be dropping the antithesis of this episode by basically taking a giant shit on everyone that does the whole like new me, new this, new me 2024 gonna be my year. Anyway, we love you all. Please join us, whether it's hateful or not. But what? Oh yeah,
Smash
tell us
that
what your
subscribe.
resolutions are. There you go. Do some smashing. Smash it.
Okay, on that note.
Tell us what your resolutions are. Share with us if you want to join in. I will not be doing I'm going to take a break from social media posts because that makes me want to murder people. Okay. Bleep that out for YouTube. On that note, we love you. We will see you next Tuesday. And I love you. Bye.
I love you. Bye.